Okay, now we're going to be talking about some of the therapeutic factors, the sources of change that seem to be prevalent when it comes to using group therapy methods. Realize that, again, there are some unique aspects of groups that you can see that make group therapy an advantage over individual therapy, or support groups as an advantage over just like just an individual providing support. So let's go over some of these. Let's start with the sense of universality and hope. Basically, when you have people who are suffering from a particular condition, who are addicted to a substance or whatnot, and they can see other people who are suffering from the same things that they are suffering from, who have the same feelings of guilt and shame, when they see that their problems are not unique to themselves, when they see that other people share the problems they have, it can, give them a shared sense of hope that they can, if they can get through it, then I can get through it. If they have the suffering, then I'm not alone. They're suffering the same thing. I'm not going to feel as bad about myself if I realize that the same feelings are shared by others in my situation. So that really is something that you really can only get in group therapy, because that's the only time in which you can be, or in a support group, for that matter, that you can really see other people in your situation and seeing how they're coping. Furthermore, social learning is an important concept. Modeling is something that you would see in group therapy or support groups, in that you're seeing other people who are engaging in behaviors that are helping themselves recover. Therefore, you can model those successful behaviors. You can learn from it by observation. So you can observe what other people are going through, the advice other people are getting, the progress other people are making, and you're seeing it yourself. And you can model the things that they are doing to be successful. So it's not just all about you. You have a model that you can observe and see what's happening. You could even look at people who are doing maladaptive behaviors, who are engaging in behaviors that are not being productive, and you could observe that and know the kind of behaviors to avoid. So it works both ways as well. You're getting a sense, people can be, when you are seeing somebody being helped and you're seeing somebody get guidance, you're learning from that guidance as well. Group cohesion is considered to be very important when it comes to support groups or group therapy. The idea is that you want the members of the group to be cohesive. You want them to be close with each other, because that means that they'd be willing to support each other. They want to stick together. And that's an important part. You don't want to have people coming and going from the group. You want to have the group be like a unit, a cohesive unit, and not have just different people coming and going all the time. The group loses its sense of unity. The cohesion improves trust. It improves communication. And again, it also fosters a sense of identity with the group. A sense that you don't want to disappoint the group. You want to be successful, not just for your own benefit, but you want it for the group's benefit as well. Self-disclosure is something that can occur in group therapy. It can occur in individual therapy as well. But with a group therapy, you're seeing it not just from one person, but from several people. You're essentially opening up and talking about the feelings that you're having, revealing that private information. It's very risky to do that. People are often very unwilling to reveal their own private thoughts. so they're afraid to self-disclose. But part of being of intimacy is self-disclosure. You can't be intimate with someone if you're not revealing what your inner thoughts and feelings are. So, and part of the idea of the support group or the group therapy is to develop a sense of intimacy and closeness among the group members. And again, that's part of the cohesiveness as well. And this closeness, essentially, the self-disclosure is an important part of this. You're feeling, your true inner feelings. You're seeing other people do that, and you're encouraged to do that as well. And again, that fosters that sense of closeness. Something else that can happen in group therapy as well as individual therapy is catharsis. And I think I've mentioned this before. And this is where, a person can vent, a person can release some emotions, perhaps even unpleasant emotions, and vent it out in that environment. Now, as a habit, catharsis should not, if you're having angry and hostile thoughts, catharsis is not always the best way to go to make yourself feel better. Just releasing all of that anger and yelling at somebody. A better solution would be to perhaps change the emotion from anger into another, less negative emotion. You can do that. You could reframe the event to make it not as anger invoking. But be that as it may, catharsis nevertheless can occur in group therapy, where a person can vent, a person can release some angry energy, and do it in a safe environment, a trusting environment where you're not going to be ridiculed, you're not going to be shunned. You can release that energy, and nobody's going to hate you for it. Another important aspect of a support group is giving the opportunity for someone who is suffering to engage in altruism. If you are suffering and you actually help someone else who is also suffering, it is very therapeutic for yourself as well. In other words, it helps you increase your self-confidence. It helps you gain, a sense of control over things. In other words, when you're helping somebody else. And this is an important, aspect that can come for the group therapy, is that you're seeing somebody else in your group who might be suffering, and you can offer advice, you can offer help, you can offer support. And one of the things it does is it kind of reminds you that it's not all about you, buddy, is that you are not just all alone in the world, is that it allows you to start thinking about other people rather than being so ruminating and focused on your own problems. You can help other people with theirs. So those are some important aspects of group therapy. Now, the argument is with regarding group support groups and whatnot is cohesion is the most important factor. It's a necessary condition. But again, the universality, the interpersonal learning, the cohesion, these are also important aspects of group therapy that people find important. But cohesion seems to be, kind of one of those necessary things. There needs to be a closeness. There needs to be trust among the group members. So I guess a big question would be, are group therapies effective? But basically that the research seems to support the idea that group therapies are effective. They're at least as effective as individual approaches, perhaps more. But there doesn't seem to be the case. It doesn't seem to be the case that individual therapies are clearly superior to group therapies. There's no evidence of that. Okay. So group therapy. There's research on group therapy. There is, an emphasis on trying to. Again, one of the there may be some advantages, and there are those proponents of group therapy who say that this really is the way to go for many different problems. So there have been some reviews of the research on it, and they've been generally positive. What's very interesting is that it seems as though no one, remember we talked about the different kinds of therapy methods, cognitive behavioral, psychoanalytic, Gestalt, etc. It turns out the evidence at this point is that no one particular therapy style is superior to another. They all have their own strengths, but the bottom line is that they all seem to work, and in terms of group therapy, they all seem to work. So there's not one that's more superior than the other. Now, there might be some groups that are more effective than other groups. There might be some therapists who are more effective than other therapists. But as far as the styles, as far as the type of therapy, there really doesn't seem to be any one advantage of them. Now, most people who might be suffering, they may not want to get involved in group therapy. They would rather do it individually. But what the research seems to show is that the participants who do engage in group therapy, they seem to rate the experience positively. So there are positive benefits to it. Okay. And again, it's the emic and etic perspectives needs to be paid attention to. The etic perspective, looking at the procedure, looking at the therapy like a scientist, looking at it objectively, trying to figure out what is working, what isn't, and kind of looking at how the group therapies generalize across different kinds of groups. There's also the emic perspective, which takes culture into account and looks at what the experiences are from individuals who are engaged, who are in this therapy, who are in the group, who are in the culture. And so, in other words, the emic perspective takes more the what's going on within the culture itself, within the group itself, and the interventions need to kind of take both of those factors into account. Again, there are some problems that occur during group therapy. There are people who drop out, and again, what happens is if too many people drop out, then the group's cohesiveness suffers, the group's sense of unity suffers, the group is constantly changing. There might be some cases where individuals may end up worse off than before from the group therapy, but that's not going to happen very often. But again, overall, it seems like group therapy seems to be a positive, treatment option for many people. So groups do have a value. They help people, see that it's not just about themselves. It helps them in terms of how they can better interact with others. It gives them practice on that. It allows them to see that they're not alone. Again, there are some problems that may not work well with group therapy, but others do. So, nevertheless, group therapy and group support seems to be overall a very positive thing.